Hello, and welcome to the Escape Podcast, your source for all good things in the universe of movies. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Josh. Join us as we explore the vast reaches of science fiction, fantasy, action-adventure, and beyond.
Hey Josh, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How you doing way over there?
I'm alright. Any movie news to talk about?
Yes, there is. They announced the Han Solo movie cast.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, we got some new guy I never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
I already forgot his name.
Try it.
I don't really remember.
Okay. Well, I looked him up. It's I'm not too familiar with the actor. I have seen him in Hail Caesar, a movie that I liked. It's a Coen Brothers movie, and he played like a cowboy type character in that movie, and he did an excellent job. So, I guess that could be good news then, because he was really good in that.
Donald Glover's in it.
I'm not so
Community.
familiar with him.
He was. I know him mostly from Community. I know he's kind of doing music now. I think it's called Childish Gambino or something like that.
Huh. Okay.
He played Troy in the Community show.
Okay. I haven't watched a lot of Community either, so.
It's kind of weird because I'm used to only seeing him as kind of a goof around guy. So we'll see how that goes.
Chances are he'll be pretty goofy in this then too. Oh well, you said he's playing Lando though, right?
Yeah, he's doing Lando.
Okay, so he'll be at least a little bit serious.
Yeah, we'll see. You were talking about, was it Jason or Friday the 13th?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed. I found out the other day that they canceled. They were supposed to make a Friday the 13th movie and have it out this year.
A remake or?
It would have been part 13. So continuation at some point, because I know they had the reboot a few years ago, but I think this one may have been a continuation from the older series.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I heard different things about it, but either way, like, I'm a fan of the series.
Friday the 13th, is it Jason or that's Freddy?
It's
I am not that. Okay, hold on. Nightmare on Elm Street
Friday the 13th is Jason.
Okay,
Nightmare on Elm Street is
that's Freddy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I heard about it a couple years ago that they were going to start working on it. That Paramount wanted to fast track it, which is probably never a good thing. But it had been a couple years, so I'm thinking, well, maybe they're taking their time and doing it right. It's a big franchise.
Yeah.
The last one made money. I don't know why it's taken them so long to do another one. And then I heard that it got canceled because they released a movie called Rings, which was a sequel to The Ring.
Okay.
And it didn't do so well.
Yeah.
So I guess that freaked them out a little bit, and they decided not to do it. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Just because the sequel to a 15-year-old Japanese horror movie didn't do well doesn't mean that Jason
that's that old
will.
now? 15 years?
I want to say it's been about 15 years or so. It
just
came out in
didn't
early
realize
2000s, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds right. I guess I didn't realize until you said it.
And then, you got other things like October has Friday the 13th, so that's like perfect. You can have it open for Halloween. And then there's also a Friday the 13th video game coming out that a lot of people are pretty excited about. It seems pretty cool. Just like, what better time to release a new Friday the 13th movie, and then they just canceled it. Confusing to me, disappointing, really.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm sorry for you.
Yep. That's okay. I'll get over it. I'll find another zombie mutant killer to watch. So, was there anything else you were looking forward to?
To be honest, not really. Nothing is really super standing out to me. There might be a few things I might eventually see, but I'm so behind on a lot of stuff that.
Yeah, it's been kind of slow for movies lately. Like, I'm kind of interested in Split. I know it's been out for
I was interested in it too, actually. But
yeah, M. Night Shyamalan, like, whenever his name is attached to something, that's a big red flag for me. But I've heard that this one's good.
Yeah.
But, we'll see. James McAvoy's in it. He's a pretty good actor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever saw The Witch.
The Witch. I don't think so.
It came out last year. It was a small independent movie. This is about pilgrims in the I think 18 or not 18, but late 1600s.
Okay.
Family pilgrims that get excommunicated from their community, and they go out and live next to the woods. So it turns out they have a neighbor that they didn't realize.
Okay.
There's a witch living in the woods, and just everything goes wrong for this family. Yeah. And the girl in it is the star. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she was really good in it, and she's the girl in Split. So there's two actors in Split that I like so far, and it seemed like it was an interesting movie.
Yeah, there's a guy I work with. He said it was really good, and I had already said, I was wanting to see it. It looked pretty good, and he confirmed it was pretty good. I was joking, though, with him, like, because M. Night's name is on it. It's almost like like you said, it's like a red flag. At first you think, oh, gee, I almost feel like it was getting to a point where he was almost going to have a stage name or something,
yeah,
like a
like
pen
an author
name.
that changes their name for their books.
Yeah, like a pen name or something to release his movies, because it almost seems like people would be turned away when they see his name.
The thing about him is he's not bad. It's just he goes too far.
Well, I think his gimmick became that he had to do the twist, and
there's nothing wrong with the twist.
No, but I feel
when you go out of your way to make it something so shocking, like everybody went on about The Sixth Sense, and that's part of the reason I haven't seen it yet, because the ending got ruined.
Yeah, same for me. I saw it knowing what was up.
You know, from everything I've heard, it sounded like it was a really good movie. Everybody loved the twist. Some people said they saw it come in. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know how obvious it was. I can never see it like that now.
Like in 2000 or 2001. I don't remember much about it. I just remember always knowing what was happening before it happened, because people spoiled it.
Yeah, see, it's just like I feel like I can't watch the movie as intended now. But he's not bad. Like even like the stuff I didn't like, he was doing a good job. It's just that he has a little too much creative control, and maybe he got a little too much of an ego, too fast. And like one of the movies that people complained and didn't like that much was Lady in the Water.
Okay, I never saw that one.
I watched it, and it was so ridiculous, but like I went into it knowing it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be weird.
Yeah.
And going into it with that kind of mentality, I ended up enjoying the movie. I know a couple people feel that way, but for the most part, a lot of people didn't like that one.
Wasn't that where like they were fairy tale creatures or creatures?
Yeah, it actually, I think it was based off of a story he made up to tell his kids, like a bedtime story.
I knew that one.
It reminded me of. It's going to sound a little weird. It reminded me of like kind of like a Japanese fairy tale, just like all this weirdness that was going on.
Okay.
All based around this apartment complex, and just like the strange characters. Everybody had like some kind of gimmick. Yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen it, and I'm not going to say it was a good movie, but I had fun with it anyway. Yeah.
There's a lot.
I remember seeing The Happening.
No. I remember hearing that movie was about plants trying to kill people, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
And I never heard anything good about that one.
No, it was like one of those things that you'd sit around the table and say, oh, you know what would be an interesting idea? Yeah. You know, it'd be funny if it was the plants and they were giving off some kind of pheromone or some kind of chemical that made us go crazy. But like that didn't even explain the stuff that happened in the movie. Like, I don't understand. Like, it was supposed to take away your sense of danger. Like, we have a fight or flight response naturally. You know, if something happens, either we're going to fight to try and save ourselves or run to try and save ourselves. So this thing happens that's supposed to take that sense away, and just because we lose that sense, we're like, oh, I'm going to stick a pair of scissors through my eyes. Like, that makes no sense at all. Right. Oh, I don't feel the danger of jumping off the building, so I'm going to do it. Yeah, yeah. I guess it makes you dumb, too.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, how did we even get into M. Night Shyamalan now? Oh, we were talking about
Split and movies we want to see.
You know, Logan's coming out. I'm kind of interested in that. I'm a little bit burnt out on the X-Men movies.
When I saw the first trailer for it, I thought it looked good, but not good enough for me to run out and see. It's just, I don't know. Like, there's not too much, like, there's a lot of movies I would say, yeah, if it was on Netflix or someone lets me borrow it, I'll watch it. But not enough to run out. Plus,
I'll probably see Logan. Yeah. But I'm getting, especially after Apocalypse, I'm just getting so burnt out on those X-Men movies. I didn't see that one,
but I did not hear good things about it.
Everybody seemed to like Days of Future Past. I didn't
either. Nope. I really felt like for as good as they did in First Class, I did not feel that new cast, even though some of them were the same characters. I felt like that was a way to say, well, gee, X3 was terrible. First Class did great. Let's find a way to shoehorn the original cast. I wasn't even a huge fan of First Class. I thought it was okay. I mean, especially after X3, like almost anything is good after that. Yeah, I just thought it was a little of a disservice to the First Class people in their movie, because it wasn't a true sequel for them. It was
like, I'm guessing the next one. Well, Logan's obviously in the future.
Yeah, but I guess all these movies to some degree are kind of like altered timelines, from what I've heard. I guess there's a chart you can look up that kind of explains.
It just doesn't even make any sense anymore.
Yeah, because basically, especially in Days of Future Past, because he altered events.
They're trying to reset things after that horrible third movie.
But here's what don't make sense to me either is in X3 they show Charles and what's Magneto's name? Charles, Xavier, and
Dave.
Yes, Charles and Dave. They show them like in the 70s. He's still able to walk, but he basically still looks like Patrick Stewart. But then you go to the First Class movie, and it's supposed to be set in the 60s, and yet they look like totally different people and all this kind of stuff. What's Magneto's name?
Eric,
okay. It was bothering me. I was like, I know his name. Anyway,
I think Dave is his middle name.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of inconsistencies in those movies, which is funny to me that they... So I think they're trying to basically...
They keep trying to redo it. I have to give them some kind of credit, though, for not just completely starting over again like Spider-Man. Because, like, we're about to get our third Spider-Man reboot soon. At least they're not doing the origin story, but, like, with X-Men, at least they're trying to keep it all coherent, even though they're not. Like, even in... you said you didn't see Apocalypse, but... Even in Apocalypse, like, just within that movie itself, there were things that they didn't follow the rules on, and...
Because Apocalypse was just the First Class crew, right? No, none of the...
Apocalypse was...
It didn't have any of the senior cast,
it was just the First Class.
I heard Hugh Jackman's in it as a cameo, correct, though, right? I thought I heard.
Yes, he is.
But not a big part.
Nope, it's a small part. It's actually kind of a funny part, like, unintentionally funny.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just the First Class crew, and then, like, actually something that happened to Wolverine in Days of Future Past, like, that's the continuity error that they had, and I'm sure they'll try and fix it somehow, but, like, at the end, Mystique, for whatever reason, gave Logan to, you know what? I can't even remember now. It was so messed up. Anyway.
I mean, I'll see it eventually.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no rush for me. I mean, I will go... there's a lot of movies I still want to see that are pretty much old news now. I just never got around to seeing them, and I'm going to check them out.
King Kong is coming up. I'm probably more excited for that than I am for Logan.
Again, that's one of them. It's like, if someone wanted to treat me to it, because I grew up on King Kong. I don't know. I'm not against it, but I'm not, like, gung-ho about it. Or gung-ho. Wow, I said that. I can talk.
Well, we talked about it before. Like, when I saw that first trailer, I was super excited. The second trailer, a little less excited, but still excited. I plan on, hopefully we can get some newer movies that we're talking about, because I plan on going to the theater soon. I gotta start hitting up that theater again soon.
Yeah. And, like, these Lego movies do nothing for me.
Well, I mean, I'd probably see it if I had a kid.
Yeah, I remember everyone went on and on about the other Lego movie, the first one. And I can't remember if I rented that or what, but I don't know. When I played with Legos, I just literally built, like, bases, and I used my Ninja Turtles were my figures. Like, now you get, like, a Star Wars playset with the little figures. Ninja Turtles, DC characters, and, like, it has, like, the little Lego versions of them, and I don't know.
I used to like the castle playsets and stuff, where, like, you could build a castle and toss stuff with catapults and things like that.
I don't have a problem with the little, like, action figures that come with it, but I don't know. It seems like you can't...
You don't like the cross-branding?
No, it's not even that. It's just, I guess, I feel like you're not really creating anything on your own, because, like, I just had miscellaneous blocks, and I just built whatever. Like, this is a set. You can only put together as this set. Like, you can only make that vehicle or that castle or that whatever, because it's a Star Wars set, so you can only make the Death Star out of the Death Star.
You want more freedom.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, when I was a kid, you're basically the same age as me. When we were kids, it was pretty much you just built whatever you want. There's miscellaneous blocks, you just built what you want, and there's nothing wrong with that. I guess, I don't know, it's not how I played with them, so it just didn't do anything for me.
The only thing I really know about the Lego Batman stuff is that Will Arnett does the voice for Batman, and I'm kind of a fan of his from Arrested Development.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good choice. Funny, and he has that gravelly voice, but not so far that you can't understand him.
Yeah, even in Arrested Development, you can see him, like, pulling that kind of a voice off sometimes in some of the scenes. I guess he was a dramatic actor, and they hired him.
Really? That's funny.
He's just, like, the funniest goofball.
What was that one that he always said when his trick went wrong? He, something he was supposed to do, but where did the flame come from? Or
there was a couple of, like, he tried and shoot a fireball, but, like, the flint wouldn't work, so he wouldn't shoot the fireball, just the lighter fluid come out.
But where did the fluid come from? Like, as if you should still be impressed that, like, you know. That was a funny show. Yep. I didn't finish last season.
Well, supposedly they're working on the next season.
Really?
Yeah.
Have to get,
that's the whole reason I got Netflix in the first place, was to see the 4th season of Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Wasn't as good, but I still enjoyed it.
I didn't finish it.
I still liked it.
That's cool. I mean, I'll have to give it a chance, but anyway.
So we mentioned a little bit of Friday the 13th news, and I guess that kind of fits, having a horror movie for today's conversation. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Fire in the Sky.
Yes. Would you like to tell me about it? or do you want me to tell you about it?
What was Fire in the Sky about, Josh?
Fire in the Sky, it is about the supposed abduction of Travis Walton in 1975. He says he was abducted, and he wrote a book, and then they made a movie. Mm-hmm. But apparently this movie is nothing like his encounter or how he claims it went.
Parts of it are.
Yeah. Well, let's just run down the list here a little bit. So Fire in the Sky was released in 1993. It currently holds a 41% on Rotten Tomatoes. It stars D.B. Sweeney. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
As Travis. I couldn't find a lot of movies for him. I see he was in Spawn and Taken 2, but as far as like main roles, I think this is about it.
Yeah, I think this is his big
There was a movie apparently called The Cutting Edge. He was like he was the main guy in that, but he doesn't seem like he was in too much. We have Robert Patrick as Mike, best known as the T-1000 from Terminator 2. James Garner from The Rockford Files, Space Cowboys.
Never heard of him.
Again, adapted from the book, The Walton Experience from 1978. The real Travis Walton and his wife Dana make an appearance as some of the town people. The movie's portrayal events, again, are nothing like how he claims they were. Is very different. I was just watching
particularly the spaceship scenes.
Yeah. And this is just kind of a little interesting tidbit. Henry Thomas plays Greg, but he is best known as Elliot from E.T. He was the youngest member of the logging crew.
Oh, okay. You know what?
Elliot.
I thought he looked familiar, too. I didn't even put that together. And it's funny that first he's friends with an alien, and then he's running from one.
Yes. So, let's talk.
Okay, well, I think you said this movie came out in 93.
Correct.
Did you realize that that's a pretty good year for movies?
It was a very good year.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Like, I wrote down a little list. There's some stuff like Jurassic Park, obviously. Yes. That's a huge one. Just some of the other movies that came out that year was like Wayne's World 2, Schindler's List, Groundhog Day, Sleepless in Seattle, Nightmare Before Christmas, The Fugitive, The Firm, Mrs. Doubtfire, Tombstone, In the Line of Fire, The Sandlot, Rudy, Cliffhanger, Addams Family. There's just a lot of stuff from 93.
Yeah. In the Line of Fire was really good. The Firm was good. The Sandlot's a fun movie. Mm-hmm. Mrs. Doubtfire was a popular one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's a lot of good movies on that list.
Yeah. The best one of them all, Coneheads.
Yeah. Wayne's World 2 is funny, not as good as the original, but it's got some moments in it. It's pretty funny.
I like them both. It's been a while since I've seen the second one.
Yeah.
But I remember liking parts of the second one better. Just
you said better?
Parts of it, yeah. I think the storyline where he's trying to get Wayne Stock going had me more interested.
I like the part where they go to get the permit for the property to hold it, and the guy takes off his sunglasses and one eye's like blue and one's like brown. And
you have to dot your lowercase j's.
Yes. Anyway.
So, yeah, 93 was a pretty big year for movies. I guess that would have made me about 10 when the movie came out.
Yes.
So, I saw it probably when I was 11 because I didn't see it in the theater.
Right.
I rented it.
Okay.
There used to be these places back in the day called video stores where people would go and they would rent VHS tapes.
How does that work?
It's a long-lost science. So anyway, yeah, me and my cousin watched it, and it terrified me. It seems like everybody I've talked to that's watched it when they were a kid is now afraid of that movie for life. And
I got a story to tell you when we're done. When you're done there.
Well, yeah, I mean, even if you go like on IMDb and you look at like the reviews, IMDb recently got rid of their comments section, like their forums.
Oh.
I don't know why. I think that's stupid. But you can still look at the reviews and stuff. Like anybody that talks about this movie, about half of them all say it's like one of the scariest things ever. And it's funny because it's not officially a horror movie. It's a science fiction based on a true story. It's kind of a weird blend.
I noticed they call it a docudrama.
Uh-huh.
I can definitely see, obviously, there's a sci-fi element to it, but most of it is very...
It's a science fiction movie that's based on supposed fact.
Right. I would say it's a thriller, it's a drama.
I said a lot of the movie plays out kind of like a maybe suspense.
Yeah.
Almost a mystery movie because... the first maybe hour of the movie is them explaining to everybody like, hey, look, well, this is the story. So they were loggers. They went out. It was Snowflake, Arizona, I believe is where it was at.
Which is funny because isn't Arizona, I usually think of it as...
Yeah, I was thinking it's desert and stuff, but then when you watch the movie, they're out in like, I guess the town that they were in was filmed in Oregon.
Okay.
Trivia. So,
Thanks.
And
I
anyway,
didn't find that one.
yeah, you don't think of Arizona usually as this big woodland area, but I suppose,
Yeah.
I've never been there.
Yeah.
So they were
I don't
clearing...
believe that Arizona and places around there really exist. I think it's fictional.
That's the science fiction part.
I haven't seen it.
I've never been to Arizona either. I don't know that it exists.
I don't believe that dinosaurs ever existed.
Well, you're crazy because I rode one here. Anyway, so yeah, they were loggers. They were hired to clear a portion of some woodland to make a road, I guess, through the mountains in Arizona somewhere. And they would work. They would get there early in the morning when the sun comes up. They'd work all day until the sun goes down, and then it was time to pack it up. And it was a small group. There were 7 of them. The movie, I think there were 5 or 6.
The movie did 6. There was actually 7, and I thought this was kind of funny. The reason they said for that was they thought it would be too confusing to have too many characters, but it's one less.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah.
Movie logic. Anyway, so, on this particular day, they left when the sun came down, and they're driving home, and they see a light in the sky. And according to the actual events, they thought, what is that? Is it the moon? In the movie, they're trying to figure out if it's a plane had crashed, because it's like red fire in the sky.
Yeah.
So they see this light, they come around the bend, and there's this object hanging there. Well, Travis decides to get out of the car, Travis Walton. Everybody else is looking up at this thing. He's jumped out of the car. He's underneath it, and he's just staring up at it. Mm-hmm. They see him. They're yelling at him for him to come back. I guess for a little bit, nothing was happening. And part of the reason, he said, in actual interviews with Travis, he said that he thought it was about to get away, and he wanted to get as close as he could to see what this thing was. So, he kept getting closer and closer, and they're like, come back, yelling. He's ignoring them, but then it started shaking and making some noises, and he's like, okay, well, maybe this is a bad idea. And right when he was about to turn and go back, it hits him with this light. Knocks him back like 20 feet. They all freak out inside of the truck, close the door, take off. After their panic is over, they decide to go back and get Travis. They're like, we just left him there. What are we doing? So they go back. In the movie, everybody got out of the truck, and Mike, the foreman, the leader of this little group of loggers.
His best friend, basically.
Yeah, and friends with Travis. I believe Travis married his sister as well. So, yeah, Mike's like, we got to go back. And in the movie, all the guys get out because they're too scared to go back, which I'm not sure which one would really be worse, standing out in the dark or going back. But in reality, they all went back.
Yeah.
And when they went back, they couldn't find him. And then that launched this whole big investigation. The sheriff of the area and his deputy basically thought they were looking for somebody who was either hurt or murdered.
Right.
And they searched for this guy in the woods for like 5 days. They looked all around town. They went to his house. They went to his family's house. They couldn't find him anywhere. It was the middle of deer season. There were hunters everywhere. Nobody saw this guy anywhere. And then just after 5 days of everybody searching for him, he came back. And then that's when he told the tale of being on the UFO and all that stuff.
Because, it was showing in the movie, and I'm assuming in real life it was getting to a point where they either thought he was dead, that they killed him, or that the one guy killed him, specifically the guy that...
Alan Dallas.
They didn't get along. Or they thought he had ran off to get this big hype, to get, like, a story brewing, just to have something...
Yeah, it's suggested in the movie and in real life interviews that perhaps they were hoaxing something just to get attention or to make a quick buck.
Right, to sell their story or whatever.
We should save our thoughts on what really happened for the end, but
okay.
As far as the movie goes, I found that part of the movie interesting. I think some people find it boring, just the whole build up to the end scenes.
Yeah.
It's an example of a slow build. You have this thing in the movie everybody wants to see, and you delay it. You're just telling the story and letting it go, and then when you get to the end, it's the big payoff. And in this movie, it doesn't always work in every movie. Mm-hmm. In this movie, that is a payoff, for sure. Like, those are some of the craziest scenes. I've seen Ebert do a review of the movie, and he had kind of mixed feelings on it, and he said that the scenes at the end where they show Travis inside of the UFO and dealing with the aliens, that he said the movie succeeded in making him feel like he was actually seeing something alien. The special effects in that scene are really good. The special effects of the outside of the UFO maybe weren't the best, but this is 1993.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling they didn't have the budget of Jurassic Park.
Sure.
So, that's okay. I think it still pretty much holds up.
I feel like they didn't show a super great look at the ship itself, did they? Like, you see,
No,
like, light,
like,
and
I
there's
feel
a lot
like
of,
they
like,
couldn't get it right.
shadowing
Yeah,
of the
it
darkness.
was sitting perfectly still, almost like they added it to the movie after.
Yeah, because that one thing when it almost looked like a volcano.
Yeah, they didn't have a whole lot of shots of outside, and I think that's maybe they didn't know how to do it and make it look good. I mean, you could have just stuck a piece of crap up there. I've seen enough UFO movies.
Yeah.
To where it's basically a hubcap, but yeah, but the inside of the ship, just the way it looked, the sets for the inside of the ship looked amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The aliens looked really good. I think they used a combination of actors and robots.
Yeah, it looked like puppets to me. Like, the way when the one leaned forward, it kind of reminded me of, like, in Star Wars, like, those puppets where it's, like, pulling some kind of wire or lever or something to me.
Yeah.
That's just how it looked. I don't know.
They were definitely, there's a little bit of mechanical to them at parts, but at other parts it was people.
Mm-hmm.
But it looked really good.
Scenes.
Yeah, like when they're dragging them through the hallway, I'm sure those are guys in suits, and you're just seeing their backs, so it looks fine.
Yeah.
Or when you see their hands go and they're doing stuff with their hands.
Yeah.
Those are people's hands.
Yeah.
But I mean, it all looks great. It's nice not seeing CG fill everything up.
Yeah.
It all looks really good. They are creepy looking. But the first hour or so of the movie is the build up to that, and that's where Mike and the other loggers are being investigated, basically. Right. The whole town believes basically they killed Travis for unknown reasons and hid his body in the woods. I find that idea interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I think they maybe written the movie a little bit better, they could have made that part much more interesting and more in depth. But it seemed like they knew it was filler, and they were just trying to get to that end point. There are scenes where like they're walking around and talking about stuff, and the dialogue just is kind of
Okay, yeah, I do have something to say about that.
And like you can, I noticed a lot of background conversations while they're doing those scenes, where like you can hear kids in the background like, oh look, that's him, oh look, they killed him, and like that's all throughout the movie. Like you can hear people talking about them in the background, and I find that a little weird. There's a scene where they're digging through the woods, they're searching through the woods, and they think they found the body. And as soon as they think they found the body, nobody reacts to these voices, but you hear the voices say, oh, it's his body, I know it. Oh, I knew they killed him. Mm-hmm. And then when they find out it's just a dog that some hunter buried, then you can hear somebody in the background say, oh, I thought that was him. And I'm like, why did they add all that stuff?
I don't know. Well, if I may, can I tell you my history with this movie?
Sure.
Okay. So I remember hearing about this movie and being really interested because I always loved, sci-fi and stuff like that. And I can't remember exactly what age I was. I would guess 10. It was probably maybe not. Because, see, back then, usually, they try to get them out on video pretty quick.
Within months.
Yeah, like back then.
It's almost like a year.
Yeah, so let's just say it was maybe 94 when I finally saw this movie. So I was 11. Scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrified me. And so fast forward to, I would guess maybe 2005. I saw it again. And as I watched it, I was fine. And when I had to go home that night, night dark, was terrified again. And it was this type of thing where I had my parents' van, and I kept being like freaked out that I'm going to be looking at the road, and then I look at the mirror, everything's cool, look back at the road, and there's just going to be this face right behind me, to a point where, because the van had a switch to turn on like all the back lights, at certain points I would have to like reassure myself and flip it on just to look. And
it sounds so silly, but this movie really is scary.
And like, I work my one job where it's super early in the morning, like leaving at 4 something in the morning. And again, like it messed with me for, I don't know how long it took to kind of get over it, like a couple weeks, a month. Okay. Now, fast forward about maybe 4 or 5 years later from that. I saw it again with a group of friends. Somehow it came up. We were talking about it, so we decided to watch it. And I thought for sure, okay, yeah, last time it kind of rekindled this kid fear I had for it. So I've seen it now as an adult. Yeah, I kind of had a little problem with it, but I just seen it 4 or 5 years ago. No problems. Should be fine. Same thing. As I'm watching it, I was fine. But again, later that night, it was Brittany. I was dating her at the time. Took her home. Went to go home myself, and it freaked me out again. So when you said you wanted to do this movie, I was not looking forward to it. And I told John, I said, like, I was this close to saying, can we do something else? So I was laying in bed last week knowing we were going to do this movie and feeling a little bit of dread. And then I was listening to this other podcast, this Star Trek podcast, and they were talking about this episode of The Next Generation called Schisms.
Way ahead of you.
And this episode, I remember as a kid, it was about where members of the Enterprise crew were being abducted and taken to this laboratory, and it scared the crap out of me.
I was actually going to bring this episode up, too.
And that episode scared me as a child. And I like the episode now. Like, it doesn't scare me now, of course, but, like, there is a certain creepiness about it to me. And so this episode of this podcast I was listening to was talking about that episode. And this is just earlier this week, I think, or last week. And listening to it, because sometimes what I'll do to help me fall asleep, like, you know, some people like to leave, like, the TV on.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll put on, like, music or, like, a podcast, someone else's podcast, and just kind of hearing people talk kind of in the background, not really listening to it, will kind of help me fall asleep. But it was quiet enough where I could really hear what they were saying, and it bothered me to such a point to talk about something else that scared me as a kid and something else I wasn't looking forward to doing. I had to shut it off. So I am a little worried what's going to happen later when I have to go out at night, get in the car where it's all dark behind you. Like, I'm wondering if it's going to mess with me, because I am fine right now. Watched it, I was fine, just like it had been the last 2 times.
I'm usually okay now when I watch it, but that movie traumatized me for years. I had a hard time sleeping.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even like I watched it last night.
Yeah.
And as I'm watching it, like, it's not nearly as bad as it was when I was a kid, but every now and then you get that feeling. That's actually something I was going to bring up. Like, right from the beginning of the movie, when they're showing the scene of, like, the opening credits, and you see the light in the woods, and it's just the truck.
Yeah.
It's just them racing back to town. Like, even that with the music and the
exactly.
woods.
Yes.
Like, this movie literally makes creepy. Chills run down my spine.
Whoever they got, I should know this. The music is so creepy, and they do this little trick twice toward the beginning where, so yeah, as it's opening, you're hearing this really creepy music. You're seeing like a dark road, like silhouettes of trees, and you're seeing this light approaching, and the way they kind of do it, you're thinking that you're seeing the alien
you're expecting
ship.
To see the UFO come through the
woods.
And
then eventually it's the pickup truck racing past. And it is
racing.
Yeah. And then later when they show James Garner, who's like the sheriff
that's
from
actually
out of town,
one of my favorite movie scenes of all time, is the scene with James Garner that you're about to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. He's coming into the town because of this, this guy's missing.
Like, he's just picking up the phone to find out what they want.
Right. And he... all of a sudden you see like these lights, these red lights, and like you see him like looking, you think almost like for the first time, you think, oh, like this craft is hovering over him, and then it ends up being the train passing by and like the guardrails that come down with the lights flashing.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good trick they did twice where...
I wonder if that was kind of a reference to Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Maybe, but...
Because they have that scene where like he's, what is it, the guy from Jaws, what's his name?
Richard Dreyfuss.
Yes.
Richard Dreyfuss.
He's, what is he, like an electrician? Or a phone guy?
I don't know.
He's driving a truck, a utility truck.
Yeah.
And he's looking down at his map trying to figure out where something is, and, he's got somebody behind him, and they're flashing their lights at him. He's like, go around. You see the car go around. And then, it happens again. There's something behind him. He's like, go around. And instead of going around, it goes up and over him.
I have not seen this movie.
You haven't seen it?
I have not seen this movie.
Well, sorry for ruining that part. We're going to have to do that one.
That's fine.
That's another one that'll scare you, except I will say it's not its intention.
Yeah.
So it's closer to E.T. than it is to Fire in the Sky. Although, despite it being more of a friendly look on aliens, that one still scared the crap out of me. And I don't know what it is about these movies that scare me. How, like, they scared me when I was a kid, but I become, like, almost obsessed with them, where I keep watching them over and over again. It's kind of like spiders. I don't like spiders.
Yeah.
You put one near me, and I'll freak out. But I could watch, like, a documentary on different types of spiders. Like, I'm kind of interested in things that freak me out a little bit.
I can understand that.
I think maybe, there's one thing I wanted to mention, too, about, like, this movie coming out when it did. Like, around that time in culture, people who are younger than us might not realize this. Like, aliens today are kind of just like, like, it's not as huge as it used to be.
The idea of alien abduction, or like...
Well, that too. Just the whole thing, the abduction phenomenon especially. Like, it blew up. Like, it was a thing. It was a cultural phenomenon.
Oh, yeah, there was a lot of the, what do we call
crop circles. Yeah, crop circles were huge then.
Yep.
The Fox network specifically was just huge on the whole alien thing. They had, like, the alien autopsy. They had some kind of special where they supposedly got an alien abduction on tape, and they played that.
Okay.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
No, I remember...
It was like a birthday party at a cabin in the woods somewhere, and...
That sounds vaguely familiar. When we're done, you pull it up for me. Show me.
It's probably one of the first...
it does sound
earliest examples of, like, a found footage film.
Yeah.
Where they see the craft land, and then the aliens start coming for this family, and then I think the last shot in the film is alien coming through somebody's bedroom door, and... turning the camera off.
Okay.
And then supposedly
Even
the tape
as
was
you
found.
said that, I did get a little bit of goosebumps.
Yeah. So it might sound silly that we're afraid of aliens a little bit, but like it was in our face as we were kids.
Yeah, I mean,
it was all over the place.
What I like about like your Star Trek and Star Wars and things like that is typically aliens are kind of almost like peers or just villains. It's not so much that they're trying to do like kidnap you and put you in a zoo or cut you open or whatever. It's more like they're either kind of you're friends with them, you work with them, or they're just trying to shoot you and steal your ship or something. It's not
if you ever see like anything about like the history of alien abduction or anything, it's kind of interesting how it changes. Like in the 40s, people saw flying saucers and stuff. There's stuff before that, but like the modern era begins like in the 40s, right? During World War II, they'd see balls of light. They called them Foo Fighters.
Well, yeah, that was the Roswell.
Yeah, they had the Roswell crash.
Did you say Foo Fighters?
Foo Fighters. They called them. I think it's French. It's for firefighter. Oh. And soldiers, pilots during World War II would get these like balls of light that would follow them around. They'd go through the planes and do all sorts of crazy stuff. The Germans saw them. The Allies saw them. Both of them thought that it was an enemy secret weapon.
Right.
Nobody knew what they were. And then you had the Roswell thing. That was, I think, 1947. That didn't make too much national headlines. Not as much as you would think. Like, they had it in the newspapers and stuff, but, like, everybody forgot about it until the 70s when people were, like, looking for stuff like that. And then it became a bigger thing. But then, like, in the 50s, UFOs would come down, and then some people started, like, making contact with the occupants, supposedly.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like, I think it's referred to as the Space Brothers and stuff. So they would say that the people that were inside, they'd either describe them like us or, super beautiful. All these different types of races are coming down. They're giving messages about how they're here to help humankind. And it's funny listening to people talk about them back then. Like, you can see interviews and stuff. I'm sure you could go to YouTube and look this stuff up where, you'll see a woman with, like, the thick glasses and a beehive hairdo, and she's talking about how the Space Brother came down and gave her a message of hope and stuff. And then in the mid to late 60s, it all changed. That's when the alien abduction thing started happening, where it became scarier.
Yeah.
And that was part of what happened with Travis, and this became like one of, if not the most publicized abduction case.
Okay.
Before that was Betty and Barney Hill, and they were the first ones, the first big case where aliens came down, took them, experimented on them, all the stuff we're familiar with now.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just funny looking at like how it's changed over time. They came down and they were friendly, and now they're menacing.
Yeah.
And people like to use them to scare us. And in the 90s, all that stuff was huge. The X-Files was on.
Yeah, I was gonna say the X-Files. Yep.
Yeah. So it's silly that an alien can freak us out, but it is a scary thought. Being taken by something and having stuff done to you against your will, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, I was, to talk about the movie specifically, I was actually, because I just rewatched it like a couple hours ago.
Oh, okay.
So I was actually kind of surprised at how well the story was told. And the last time I remember, I thought it was kind of boring. I was mostly wanting to see the ending part, the big reveal. I actually found what was happening pretty interesting with these characters, and I thought it was kind of a realistic portrayal of if something like this happened. Yeah, like it seems very realistic.
I think had the movie been made nowadays, that part would have been even more interesting. Like I thought it was interesting. Had they played it up more as we don't know if they're hoaxing or what, make it a mystery, trying to figure out, are these guys for real?
Yeah.
Are they really trying to tell us a UFO took their friend away? Like, what really happened?
Yeah.
If they had played around with that mystery more and made the audience kind of guess, along with the rest of the characters in the movie, I think that could have probably worked out a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I think maybe they felt because the case was already kind of like more on the known side more of a famous case that everybody knows that the story anyway. Let's just get to the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of nice that they took their time a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting, like, you know, not turning on each other so much, but because I mean, pretty much, I think, except for the Dallas guy, they all pretty much stuck together, right?
Yep. Yep, and that seemed pretty accurate to the true event.
Yeah.
Too, is that well, the problem with Alan Dallas, the jerk of the movie, is that, you know, he especially was nervous about the whole ordeal because he had prior background with the law.
Yeah.
He had a little bit of a history of being in jail before, and he did not want to go back.
Right.
And I guess when I was listening to the guys tell their story, even when they were looking for Travis's body, it didn't dawn on them right away that they were going to be looked at for murder.
Okay.
It didn't even cross their minds that was going to be a thing. And then once that started to happen, they all started to get pretty freaked out about it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they did a good job on that. Like, I like the way Dallas kind of goes into hiding. He knows, like, it looks pretty bad for them. No one, you know how he says, basically, they can convict you of a murder even if they don't find the body. Because we know they're not going to find him. You know, we all know good and well he's not here. And that he's really worried, not so much for this guy, because, you know, obviously they didn't like
he says that they don't need a body to press murder charges.
Right.
Which I don't know if that's true or not.
I mean, I think they can press charges, but then, I mean, you would still have to, it would go to court, and then the jury would have to decide, you know, but, yeah, I mean, I think they can press charges.
See, I don't know if it's like one of those things that's like, well, the audience is going to think, like, why are they worried about a murder? There's no body. Well, let's just say this and get that out of the way. Or if that's actually a true thing. It could be.
But so you mentioned earlier about like some of the lines just kind of seeming, would you say, like not authentic, or how'd you word it?
Yeah, a lot of the lines during that process of them building up to Travis coming back. Not all the scenes, but some of the scenes, like the lines just seem kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
Like they weren't heavily thought out. They were just kind of there. They're filler.
Okay, so I noticed Robert Patrick. Now, I like him, especially as the T-1000, but I don't think he was very good in the scene where he's mad at the cop because, you know, we came in, we did your polygraph test, and now you want us to come back, well, we're done. That whole, like, rant. For some reason, I just kind of I don't see him as a leading guy. I thought he was fine when he was talking just naturally, but when he was supposed to be mad, I don't know if it was the way he was directed or what, or if he's just not a leading man kind of actor, but like I found it a
there's
little...
some I don't want to say anything's bad because it's not. I think for the most part the acting, especially by Robert Patrick and D.B. Sweeney, is pretty good, but there are parts, like you're saying, where something that just doesn't like flow right.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the directing.
Yeah, it could be.
I think probably the directing of this movie could have been better, but the movie holds together, especially because of that last act.
Yeah, you know what I thought was actually really creepy that I don't remember from before is when he's in the hospital and they're taking him down on the stretcher, and like you're seeing all the lights, and as he's like looking around at the walls and the ceiling and people like looking at him, they would flash real quick to like the ship and be moved down, and then like back in the hospital. Like that was, I thought, in the music with that again was extremely creepy and unsettling to me. But here's a question: why did they bring him back?
Whatever they needed him for, they were done with.
Okay, but they had those other cells with people in it, and I know the one guy they show was dead.
Yes. Well, this is where the movie dramatically departs from the supposed actual events.
Yeah.
So yeah, the movie takes its time getting to this scene. It teases it after he's returned. People are like, hey. Let's get him to the hospital. Although not right away. They get those weird UFO guys to look at him first.
And I didn't get that part because I don't remember a part earlier where, like, how do they know to call these guys? Like,
well, that guy, he showed up and he gave Mike his card. And he's like, hey, we know what we're doing. If you need us, here's my card. I don't know why they just didn't take him to the hospital. I guess movie logic. I don't know why that scene was there, except for maybe to have him have that flashback.
Right, where
you see the rain is coming down kind of weird on the window, and then he starts freaking out.
Yeah.
So, you know, we get a little bit of a flash of the inside of the ship when he does that. They take him to the hospital. They're wheeling him down the hallway in the hospital. As the lights are going over his head, he's having flashbacks of the aliens dragging him around the ship. They have
that is so. I guess I never thought of it. I'm sorry to interrupt. Like the way they were dragging him, like. You never think about that part of an abduction, but like once they brought him up, they literally they're just gonna get you there. Like there's like it's so brutal and like just dragging you to this operating table. Like that's
they were not what's the word I'm looking for? They they weren't very nice with him. No.
Yeah, and the experiment scene itself, it's not only scary because you don't know what's going to happen, but I found it also humiliating.
Yeah.
Like when they just like strip him down, like
a lot of that. I think that's part of the psychology of why it's so scary.
Yeah.
So they have that welcome back party for him.
Yeah.
And he's not digging it. He just came back. He hasn't even had time to digest like what happened to him yet. He hides under the table. The syrup falls and drips on his face, and then boom, we get the full flashback. So he wakes up in like a pod or a cell. Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of like a beehive or a wasp nest. The way there's
that's
cells.
What it reminds you of. Yeah. He's got like this gunk on him.
Yeah, there's a lot of gunk.
There's a lot of gunk. It's slimy. He doesn't know where he's at. He's confused. The cell that he's in is like. There's like an opening, but it's like covered with like a membrane or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's able to push his way out of it. It's almost like latex, basically.
Yeah.
Rips it open, and then gravity's all weird. He goes flying out of it.
Which that was pretty inventive, I thought.
Yeah, those scenes, all of the special effects in this movie were pretty good. He crashes back into another cell.
Yeah.
Where there's a guy like with his guts hanging out and stuff.
Yeah, like basically like the stomach area is all like opened up and
yeah. That freaks him out, as it should. And, he climbs up to this area where he sees what at first we would think would be the aliens, but it's not. It's space suits, and he says space suits to let us know, and it looks like, what you would see somebody drawing an alien looking like.
Right,
the
what they
gray,
call the grays,
Yeah, with the big black eyes and all that. And then, as if you're not already creeped out enough by everything that's going on, because, like, seriously, we can't say it enough. This whole inside the UFO scene is like the stuff nightmares are made out of.
Yeah.
It's not a horror movie, but when it comes to this, it's scarier than any horror movie that I've ever seen.
I think that's, not to kind of go off on a side note, but like the thing that makes horror movies, at least in my mind, usually not scary is they're so over the top. Like just someone's arms getting cut off and they're getting gutted in such a
There's things you see in horror movies.
Way.
There's the gore like that.
Yeah.
And usually that's something to cheer for as long as it's done in a really goofy way.
Okay.
If it's done realistically, I don't like it. But, there's gore. It's meant to make you feel uncomfortable and push, like, the boundaries of what you're comfortable with or get you to think about new ideas. That's the whole thing of horror. A lot of horror movies suck now because they think it's all about the gore, or people think that to scare you means to play a loud noise and switch the camera angle real quick.
Yeah.
Jump scare. That's not scary. That's stupid. You might get startled. You might jump. Mm-hmm. It doesn't scare you. A scary movie makes it so when you leave the theater, you don't feel right.
Yeah.
And you won't feel right for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Something's uneasy. When it gets dark, you get scared. If it's in your mind afterwards, then it's a good horror movie. So he's looking at these spacesuits, and they're all around him. There's about 7 of them or so.
Yeah.
He's kind of examining it, trying to figure out like what's going on here. And one of the spacesuits behind him,
because they're kind of it's like adrift. Yeah, it's like almost.
So they look like they're all empty.
Yeah.
One of them isn't. One of them has somebody inside, and it looks up at him. It's from behind him, and just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, because he's got his back toward it.
Yeah, so he ends up getting in a fight with that alien. Kicks the face.
And then that whole
off.
running through that tunnel thing, or
tries
for him,
to escape
it's like
through a tunnel where he gets
through.
grabbed by 2 more of them. They drag him through that dirty hallway.
Where there's all those like.
Yeah, there's. It looks like whatever they've been doing it a lot.
Yeah.
There's broken glasses, shoes,
books. I saw some books.
All the stuff. I'm like, there is gravity, but it's not strong gravity.
Yeah, it kind of
everything's
hovers
a little bit
stuff.
floaty.
Yeah.
They're dragging him through there. He can't escape. They look like old men, but I guess they must be strong. They eventually get him down into the examination room, slap him on the table.
Right.
And he's just looking around. He's been screaming this whole time, and now he's kind of looking around trying to figure out what's going on. They rip his clothes off.
Right, and I thought that was kind of humiliating.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing. Like, I think maybe the movie is meant to make you feel like a lab rat.
Right. It kind of made me feel like, wonder what an animal feels like when we put it in a cage or put it in a tank and we're just like staring at it real close. Like, from their point of view, I wonder, is that what it's like? I mean, It's kind of weird.
And then, so they put them on that table, they flip them over, and they start writing, and it's like their writing is like this circle. Oh wait, that's the last movie we did. Sorry.
Oh, I was like, wait, what?
No, it's they flip him onto that table, rip his clothes off. He's laying on his back. They put like this membrane over him, kind of similar to when
it kind of looks like a sheet, more or less.
And at first, it's kind of loose on him, and he's just looking down at it. And then they have like this thing that makes this mist come out of the ceiling. And you get the sense that they're communicating with each other, like, telepathically, the aliens.
Right, because their mouths never move.
You can see, like, their head moving a little bit. Like, there's something, like, in the temple area, their head that's kind of pulsating. And they're looking at each other, and they're nodding and stuff like that. But they never open up their mouth.
Yeah.
So this thing comes down, starts spraying this mist, and whatever they laid on top of him, as soon as it gets in contact with that mist, it tightens up. So he is stuck on that table, and he starts screaming. And
which almost made me think it almost too much pressure. It's hurting him.
Yeah, it doesn't look comfortable. I wouldn't be comfortable with that, no. So, he starts screaming. The aliens look a little bit alarmed when he starts screaming, like, how do you shut this thing up, So, as he's screaming at the top of his lungs, that's the perfect time to throw this sludge in his mouth.
Yeah.
They fill his mouth with this dirty, dark green-looking, slimy stuff.
Yeah,
and then stick that like mechanical thing over his mouth to keep his mouth open and start just shoving this tube down in there.
Yep.
And it goes and goes and goes. I don't know where it was supposed to be going, but it was in there.
Now, I didn't get the impression that they looked alarmed when he started screaming. I almost took it as they expected it. Like, they've done it so many times that this part, is the part where they start screaming.
Maybe alarmed isn't the right word. They had a reaction.
There was a reaction. Yeah, I'll agree with you. There was a reaction. Their face a little different. But yeah, I almost just took it as like, that's the part we expected when we've done this the numerous times. That's how I took it. But
so they shove this tube like way down into him somewhere through his mouth, and then they have the thing over his eye, and it has like this milky substance comes out, covers his eye open. Or it covers his eye open.
Yeah.
This milky substance comes out and covers his eyeball.
Which, they show then a point of view shot where you see he can't really quite see. Yeah. It's very,
And then the needle starts coming down.
Mm-hmm. And the way it comes down, then it stops, and like a piece opens up, then another piece comes out, and then what looks like a needle, and then an even sharper needle finally comes out of that one.
It's funny because like that part with the arm coming down and the needle coming out of the needle, coming out of the needle.
Yes.
It looked both cheap and scary at the same time.
Yeah.
I thought, like, it looked a little bit like, okay, I can tell it's a prop, but I'm still scared of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's about where the flashback ends in the movie.
Yeah, it doesn't actually show it get any closer to the eye. Now, could you sum it up? What is one thing you would say was the scariest or creepiest thing about the aliens? If you could say, is there one thing you might say, them doing this, or the fact that they, anything come to mind on that? Besides just being examined and experimented on, like, is there anything specifically about the aliens themselves?
All right. The being examined and experimented on like that is terrifying.
Sure.
There's something about the way they look, where it's human-like but not quite human.
Okay.
That just even the idea of seeing something like that creeps me out.
Okay. I found the lack of expression disturbing. The fact that they do not emote any kind of anything, like shock, to me, surprise, sympathy, anger that he's struggling with them. Like, they don't seem nothing.
They're so indifferent to his suffering.
Yeah, they're just very almost like statues that, they move, but they don't show any kind of anything. You can't get a read on them. Yeah,
it's not like somebody's just wearing a static mask. They have facial features.
Right, but they don't really express anything. And I found that, even, again, the being examined on is creepy, but I'm just saying, if you could picture this in a different setting where it was a Star Trek or a Star Wars movie and they were a creature of that movie, to me, it's the fact that looking at them, they just look at you and nothing changes, and you have no idea what's going on in that head, what he's going to do to you. That's creepy to me.
That's definitely part of it. It's just, there's something about the way they look. Like I said, if I ever saw anything that looked like, it looks like a person at first, but there's just something not.
No,
right.
yeah, I could see. Yeah, totally.
If it looks
if they're human enough,
but it isn't human.
Yeah,
that's gonna mess with me.
Kind of jumping back to the suits that they wore, I thought that was really kind of a clever thing, because basically when you see them, it almost looks like that's them. I remember when I watched it with that group, the people laughed because they knew this movie was older, and when they saw that, they thought that was the aliens, and they thought that looked very cheap and whatever. And then when they realized, oh, that's like spacesuits they wore. I remember one guy specifically, he kind of was like, oh, like I see now. And then when the one grabs him and he kicks it and the mask flies off, like I think he realized, oh wow, this is a little more than I thought.
Yeah.
And I thought that's also cool because the Greys, again as they're called, the stereotypical alien head, you know, where it kind of like a guitar pick with the big eyes,
big almond eyes.
It would kind of explain why everyone always describes them looking the same, because basically they're wearing a spacesuit when they're on Earth that gives that appearance of that. But you know,
I think it was a way, like I think they knew that if they tried to go for that look that's been popularized, that it might come off as, because they were really trying to scare the pants off you. They wouldn't be able to achieve it with something that looked like that, but with the look they went for, it definitely.
I thought it was
a
good.
creepier.
It was almost like the trick they did earlier with you're seeing what you eventually find out is headlights of the.
They're taking your expectations and.
Yeah, it was almost like a switch on you because you're assuming this is, you know, and again, when James Garner and the railroad thing's coming down and you're just seeing red lights hover down in the reflection of his window, you think it's a ship coming down over him, and then it's the crossguard arm or whatever you call it. It's a little movie trick, and I thought that was a clever one because at first that's what you think they look like, and then you realize
messing with your expectations and stuff.
I thought that was just kind of clever.
Yeah, no, that's one of my favorite movie scenes. Just the look on his face. You see the reflection of. If you live in Southeast Michigan, you've seen a million train tracks.
Yeah.
So you know what we're talking about. The crossguard comes down and has the lights on it. These guys come back and they're like, we got to call the cops, tell them what happened. So they call the cops, and then it cuts to James Garner. Yeah. And they're like, hey, Joe, on the radio. He picks it up. What's up? He's like, I think you better come down and check this out. And while they're telling him
you just seen it lower down. You see the
reflection of lights coming down, these red lights.
So it just looks like a ship's coming down on his hood. Yeah.
Yeah, the look on his face is like...
What is this?
Yeah. Yeah. But then you realize the look is more like, oh, great, I'm stuck at a train.
Yeah, it was just clever. It was cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I liked that.
So, it's a good movie. I think it's told well. I think there is some of the acting that's a little, I don't know, like I said, if it's just
a little bit of it is, the acting is really good. I think they all do a good job. It just seems like we were saying every now and then, like maybe the directing didn't push them into the right direction.
I mean, who knows? I mean, they might have done that scene numerous times. It was just exhaustion. I don't know why they would, if that's the case, they would pick that scene to put into the movie. But I don't know. Like I said, for me, had
the dialogue been tweaked up a little bit, it almost seemed like they didn't care because they knew the ending was like the key of the movie.
Maybe, yeah. But it's an interesting movie. I'm kind of glad I watched it for this because like I thought about, I've seen this movie enough. I think I could just wing it. But I watched it. I'm hoping I'll do good the rest of this week. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty solid movie. It's, I feel like if an alien abduction movie was done today, it would be a lot more. Let's just face it. I think it takes a lot more to hold our attention now.
Sorry, what was that? I was looking at my phone.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm guilty of it too. It takes a lot more. We need get to it. Everything has to be fast, move, and like when movies, when they explain stuff to you.
Yes.
Like Batman Begins has this terrible scene where when what was the microwave emitter or whatever they called it that mystifies the water, which all the hallucinogens. Okay, so it's on that train. It's heading to Gotham Central where the main water, whatever, blah blah blah, and the guy, it's like an older guy. He's monitoring the train. When that thing gets to the central tower, it's like he's basically telling you. Yeah, he's telling the other guy next to him so that you know. There's a bad habit
nowadays. Like I don't feel like movies are made the same as they once were. I think the late 70s and throughout the 80s were some of the best times for movies.
Yeah.
Not that I was alive that whole time.
No, I understand.
But like there's an art to storytelling.
Yeah. And
when you get stuff like a Michael Bay movie or whatever, where it's just explosions and girls in shorts, you're losing a little bit of that, and I feel like movies get dumbed down a lot. A good example would be like Fast and the Furious for me.
Okay. No, I've never seen.
I don't understand
I think
how
I
those
saw
movies,
the first one, but
right, yeah, I do not understand how those movies are so popular. The last one I saw, I think, was the first one that had The Rock in it. I don't know how many of them there are.
I don't know either.
I think they're making Fast and the Furious Part 32 this year.
Yeah.
So it was the first one with The Rock in it, and you have these guys down in South America. They came up with some heist, and you can't keep anything small nowadays. It has to be as big as possible.
Yeah.
So they're in the South American city, and they come up with this idea. They get like these little sports cars, and they decide to drag this like 20-ton safe around the city.
Okay.
While they're doing that, they're outrunning cop cars.
Yeah.
And somehow, like, nothing's getting ripped off of their cars. Like, they're able to pull this thing. I'm sure they explained it somehow in the movie, but it doesn't matter how they explained it because it's dumb.
Yeah.
And all throughout the movie, like, during that scene specifically, they drag this thing around. They're killing cops left and right.
Yeah.
And then The Rock, who is, like, a government agent for the U.S., is, like, been tasked with coming to get these guys. Like, you got to bring them in. The Rock's like, I'll do it. I'm The Rock. I can do anything. You smell what I'm cooking? So... He goes down there. He finally catches them at the end of the movie. But since the bad guys are the good guys, he's like, I'm going to give you a head start. Like, why would you do that? They just murdered so many cops.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're good guys or bad guys. Think about all those cops and, like, their families that they're just trying to feed. They're probably just doing what they had to because their dictator was forcing them to. Mm-hmm. and The Rock is like, oh, yeah, I'll catch up with you later. Go take their money.
You know, it's not that every modern movie is bad. I think I do kind of pick on them a lot. But like you said, the storytelling's different, and there's nothing wrong with a good action movie. Like, some movies are fun. Like, sometimes I just want shoot 'em up and blow 'em up, kind of movies. Sometimes that's just fun.
I can watch almost any Arnold movie at any time, and they are stupid like that.
Oh, yeah.
But
like, yeah.
in a different way. And it's hard to put my thumb on it, but just, like, the way they do things nowadays is just, like... There's a subtlety that doesn't exist anymore in a lot of movies.
You talking like Commando or something, or?
Yeah, like I could watch Predator. Mm-hmm. I could watch, just.
Well, I think Predator's a little different. Not to rehash on things we've already talked about, but like, because it's a slow build up too.
I haven't seen Commando. I've seen part of it.
Oh, gee.
I need to. I know.
Yeah.
But like, I think I saw Last Action Hero for the first time like 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm watching that one, and I don't think it's Arnold's best movie or anything.
No.
It's a little bit weird, but I mean that's a stupid movie that I can kind of enjoy. Sure. Like, I know it's stupid. There's just something about, like, when I'm supposed to take it seriously that they're driving the safe around. Like, how am I supposed to believe that that's happening?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like
I can see Arnold ripping a car door off, and I can laugh at it.
Yeah.
I see them drag the safe around, and I'm supposed to think that it's cool. That maybe that's what it is. Like, they know it's ridiculous for anybody to rip the door off of a car, but if you see, like, Arnold do it, it's like, yeah, it's Arnold. Yeah. Or you laugh at it. You don't take it serious. You're not supposed to take it serious. But when you see the guys in Fast and the Furious do all this cool stuff that is, like, literally impossible, my brain is just like, what? Stop.
I heard there was one of them, I don't know which one, where they literally drive their car off, like, a really super crazy high skyscraper into... I don't know, a pool, like a rooftop pool of another building or something. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was something pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, it sounds like they made that A-Team a movie a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And they had that scene where, like, they're falling out of the tank and the parachute doesn't open up. So, like, okay, well, let's just shoot and we'll slow ourselves down. The A-Team show, it started off a little more darker and realistic, but it became almost a comedy as it went.
Yeah.
They didn't expect you to take that stuff seriously, and then on top of that, it's a CG tank.
Did you like that movie or no?
I saw it and I would probably see another one. They could have just done it so much better. No, I didn't like it.
See, I didn't like it either the first time, but the second time, I think just knowing that it wasn't good, I was able to accept it as just dumb action, just a fun movie, and I liked it better. Not to say I loved it.
The most recent dumb movies that I've watched and I've been able to enjoy would have to be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies.
Oh, yeah.
The first one is just like, I was like, it was what it was. The second one came out, and it had
of the newest ones, right? Yeah. Okay.
The second one just came out not too long ago, and it had so much fan service in it from the cartoon.
Yes. The
Bebop,
Shadows,
Rocksteady,
Krang, Baxter,
the
Technodrome.
That's it.
Casey Jones.
Just all of that stuff was in it, and it was done. Some of it was okay, but most of it was horrible.
Yeah.
In the best way possible.
Yeah.
To where I'm sitting there like, I don't have to pay too much attention to this movie.
Right.
And every time I look over, I see something that makes me laugh.
Yeah.
So it was fine. It was what it was, and I'm glad they made it.
Okay.
But for the most part, there's just too many movies where like we're expected to believe this or think it's cool, and it's just my brain can't handle it.
Yeah.
This movie, my brain says that's scary.
Yeah, like I said, I told Brittany once I watched this movie, I think I'm done for life. Like, I feel like I don't want to watch this movie anymore.
I can keep watching it. I tried to get my roommate to watch it.
Okay.
For the longest time. I think he finally saw it and was okay with it. I know, well, he said he was okay with it.
Yeah.
I wanted him, we didn't watch it the way I wanted to. We watched it in our living room on our giant TV. Okay, I shouldn't say that.
In the daytime?
Because we don't have a giant TV. It's like whatever. On his TV, we watched it in our living room. I don't know if it was daytime, but, comfort of home type of stuff. Yeah. I don't think it was completely dark. The way I wanted him to watch it, which would have been horrible for me too, but I was willing to take him through this journey, was for us to go to his cabin up north in the woods.
Oh my goodness.
Wait until it was nighttime, there's nothing going on. Right before bed, flip it on. That would have been... There's something about being scared that I kind of like.
Okay.
And some people are like that. That's why some people like roller coasters. I can't handle them, but... there's something about being scared that people like. That's why we go see horror movies and stuff. Go to haunted houses and all that.
Yeah.
That would have been a memorable night.
Yeah, I mean, it's clever on your part. I don't know if I would have been, especially if I'd never seen it before, too. Mm-hmm. But, well, heck, even if because I had seen it, and it still seemed to give me problems twice.
Yeah.
I agree. It can be fun sometimes to get scared. You liked it. I found appreciation for the storytelling, but the bad memories that it causes me makes me... How would you letter grade it? Why don't you letter grade it?
If I had to letter grade it, I would probably give it... I was thinking about this earlier. Somewhere between like a C+ and a B-.
Okay. I would say a C. I think it's a good movie, again, in terms of the thriller, the mystery, the unique perspective of an alien movie that mostly focuses on what's happening here on Earth with, how the people would handle that experience, of basically showing the point of view of this is what his friends are going through. This is what the town's going through. This is what his girlfriend's going through. Like, I thought that was really interesting. Most movies would basically just show what's happening with the guy. All that I thought was really good. Just a nice build up to it. I like that they took their time, not to sound like the last time, but they took their time with it, and I thought it was a good payoff. It scares me. I don't enjoy that memory, and I'm done with it, but I think they did good at it. So
yeah. Yep.
Maybe I'll say a C+.
It's a good movie. It has a cult following. Yeah. It's not the greatest movie. It's terribly effective when it comes to getting a reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do a B-.
Okay. I'll do a C+.
It could have been better, but it wasn't bad.
So, we ran a little long on this one. I know...
Well, we didn't even get into the real story yet.
Oh.
We can talk a little...
No, go ahead, yeah.
Just a few of the differences. I had a list. So, okay, in the movie, there's some differences between
how he claims it went down and how they portrayed it, yeah.
Yeah, the book version, the real-life version. So, basically, Travis was kind of a wild child.
Okay.
This was 1975.
Yes.
He did a little bit of boxing.
Okay.
He rode bulls. There's a story in the movie where they're kind of goofing around, and it sounds silly, where they're talking about how he chased a bear. That really happened. He really got out and chased a bear, apparently. The youngest member of the crew was 17. He lied to get a job because he needed to help his family out. He said he was 18. Their contract was behind as far as clearing the trees. There was, when they were searching for Travis's body the next day, and this is all supposedly the real account, Mike Rogers said that he saw some guys with Geiger counters out there.
Okay. And
they were kind of scanning the area, and they weren't finding anything. He went over and talked to him. He's like, "You find anything?" They're like, "No." And he's like, "Well, try scanning us." And the guys waved the Geiger counter wand all over them.
Okay.
Nothing happened. He's like, "Well, we changed clothes and took showers. Here, try our helmets." He got their logging helmets out, and I guess they went off the charts. They had all sorts of readings from that.
Okay.
And these guys ended up walking away, and he didn't know who they were, so he went and asked some of the people around the area, who are those guys? And nobody knew.
Okay.
Nobody knew who the Geiger counter guys were. They all said yes to the polygraph test without realizing what the questions were going to be right away. And when they showed up to take the test, they gave them the questions, and that's when they realized that all the questions had to do about them murdering Travis.
Right.
And that's when a lot of them started to get really scared. I guess the media sensation caused a lot of problems with the sheriff's office in particular.
Mm-hmm.
He said he felt like he had phones growing out of his ears.
Okay.
He couldn't, every time he hung up the phone, it'd just ring again. It'd be the same question. They were calling Travis's house, and Travis's brother was covering for him. He'd answer the phone. Is Travis Walton there? No, we took him to the hospital. He's in Phoenix. So I guess all the hospitals, I think it was Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
It was somewhere in Arizona.
That fictional place?
Yeah.
Like
we got to find out where this
Snowflake,
Arizona land is at.
Atlantis?
Yes. So all the hospitals in Atlantis were flooded with calls trying to find where Travis was at.
Yeah.
Some of the guys said that they were more scared when they were taking the polygraph test than they were when they saw the UFO, just because they thought they were going to go to jail for murder.
Mm-hmm.
Each polygraph test took about 2 hours, and with 6 guys, so that's about 12 hours of doing those tests for a day, and it was one at a time. 5 out of the 6, that was true, passed the polygraph test. The one was inconclusive.
Okay.
Now I guess
was
same
that the
guy.
Dallas guy?
What's that? Yeah, the Dallas.
Okay.
So, I guess in 1993, the year the movie came out, the same guy that administered the polygraph test before came back, and he retested Travis and Alan Dallas, and they both passed.
Okay.
So this time Dallas passed it, and Travis continued to pass, as he had done before. I guess I had read on Wikipedia that there was a game show where Travis failed a polygraph test, but I don't know anything about that. The guy that gave the polygraph test said there was no way that 5 out of the 6 of them could all answer the same questions and beat him at his own game.
Okay.
And during this, we should say that what I'm talking about right here is an episode of a sci-fi channel show.
Yeah.
Paranormal Witness.
Okay. Where
they interviewed several of the people that were involved. So the polygraph guy seemed to think that everybody was telling the truth, and he said that not only were they telling the truth, he said that he believes them as far as everything happened the way they said it did.
Okay.
The police officers, not so much. They are still waiting to find out how they hoaxed it.
Okay.
When Travis got examined, medical examination afterwards, there were no signs of drugs in his system at all. He was tired, and he was showing signs of emotional trauma and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. The only physical sign of trauma, there was one little mark on his arm where maybe it was an injection, but there were no drugs in his system either. Mm-hmm. So they weren't sure what that mark was.
A way to mark him if they ever wanted to come back for him. I don't know. Almost tagging a seal or something. Or
it could have been something else. Maybe it was a mark while he was logging. Who knows? It could have been anything, really, I guess, if they couldn't figure it out. National Enquirer arranged for that testing, all his medical testing to be done. They paid for it in order to get the exclusive rights to the story. So it wasn't that Travis made any money off of it by selling his story to the Enquirer. They were just paying for him to go get medical tests, which he needed. Mm-hmm. Wherever he was for 5 days, he needed to get checked out, and he needed to have a little bit of medical stuff done. So, yeah, that and none of their stories have changed after all this time. Yeah. Now, I gave you the episode of Paranormal Witness. You watched it?
Yes.
What did you think of that?
Well, I mean, the main thing I noticed is that how he claims the encounter happened. He talks about... I mean, they kind of depicted the aliens looking a little different, but I don't know if that was just... for the little reenactment segments they do. But eventually gets to the point where he says he grabbed something, he was kind of swinging it at them, almost trying to wheel them off, and how they all just turned away and left. And then this human-looking person in a spacesuit came in.
His version of the encounter is far less violent than in the movie, but it's still weird. It's almost weirder.
Okay, go ahead. You can tell him about.
Yeah, they get him down on he wakes up on the examining table.
Okay.
And he sees what he thought were doctors around him. He thought, this thing just happened with the spaceship hitting him. with the light.
Yeah.
And he said that he thought, the guys must have taken me to the hospital, and he noticed there's something painful going on. There's like this thing attached to his chest. So when he realized that they weren't doctors and he saw what they looked like, that they weren't human, he like freaked out, got up, the thing fell off his chest.
How did he describe their appearance? Did he describe them looking like they did in the movie?
I don't know if he did exactly. I know later on he described the other things, though, that were with him.
Other things?
Yes. That's one of the things I find interesting about his account is, like, he gets away from the alien-looking creatures. He called them creatures. Mm-hmm. He used the word creatures. He ends up running down a hallway. He sits in a chair where it almost seems like he's piloting the ship or something. Like, there's a star chart or something that appears.
Yeah.
And then somebody else comes in the room. He said it looked like a normal man in a spacesuit.
Right.
Except for the eyes. There's something a little bit different about the eyes.
In the documentary, or whatever you want to call it, made them look green. Like they're glowing green.
Yeah. That's one of the things that, like, that show is kind of neat, but some of the things, like, I don't know if he said that they had green eyes or anything.
Or that's
just
like, how they wanted to spice it up for
they add their own little flares to fill in gaps.
Right, that's why I was wondering if the way they depict the creatures looking in that is exactly how he said they looked, and they
so we don't know for sure. Right. I think maybe if it seems like he would have described them, and maybe he did in that show, but I don't remember it.
Okay,
I don't remember it since I saw that light. Anyway, so yeah, it's like there's like people there, other human beings, except there was something weird about their eyes, and the one took him to meet those other ones. Right. So that he said there were 3 creatures when he first woke up, and then when he started swinging stuff at them, they're like, okay, see you later, and they left. Well, this guy, who never says a word to him, and is in a, like, almost like a radiation suit or something, comes up to him, leads him outside of the ship, and when he gets outside of the ship, he's like in a hangar or something.
Right. He
doesn't know if it's inside another bigger ship, or if it's like somewhere maybe on Earth in a hangar, or what.
Almost.
Or on another planet, who knows.
Yeah.
And then the guy leads him to 3 other people, and I think I've heard him say in interviews before, like, he doesn't know if they were actually like human looking, or if he was made to think that way.
Right.
And it was just the creatures again.
Yeah, like to be able to handle him without as much of resistance.
Yeah, so, that was pretty interesting, and then they tie him down, they do experiments, and then that's when he wakes up.
Did he say exactly what the experiments were?
They just got him down on the table. I think they made him pass out with something.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then he wakes up on the highway. He sees kind of a light. He looks up and he sees the UFO take off. Then he finds a phone booth. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, hearing those guys tell their side of the story, they all seem pretty believable, I guess. They seem like they really saw something that really disturbed them. Like, every single one of them had moments where they were about to break down and start crying. One of them even did.
Yeah, personally, I don't believe in aliens. I think it's fun for entertainment. For movies and things, but
I'm interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's an interesting subject, but
I don't believe in aliens per se.
Okay.
I think that there are times when people see strange things that they can't explain.
Yeah.
Whether it's something that is truly unexplainable or something that has an explanation but they just don't know what it is. Right. I don't think that it was necessarily a hoax.
Do you think they doing some kind of drugs or
I don't know because but like even the actor that played him in the movie, D.B. Sweeney, said that he believes the guy. I saw an interview with him on YouTube. We can look it up later. Where he's like, "Do you believe Travis?" And the guy says, D.B. Sweeney says, "Yeah." And the guy never made a dime from it. As far as I can tell, it ruined his life. I met him. He seemed like a nice guy, a nice, genuine guy. I believe him.
Interesting.
So I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. I wasn't there.
Right. Well, I guess that wraps it up. We'd like to thank everybody for listening and subscribing, sharing, downloading, all that stuff. You can find us on Facebook, iTunes, and Podomatic by searching Escape Podcast 16.
Or you could write to us at our email, escapepodcast16@gmail.com.
Yes. Thank you, Brandon, for once again coming in to help me out.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And possibly making me relive a nightmare. We'll see.
No problem. That's what I do.
Yeah. Next week, we're hoping to do... Well, we're going to be doing 2. I don't know which one's going to get released first, actually.
Stay tuned for The Burbs.
The Burbs? You want to do The Burbs first?
Release The Burbs.
Okay. So, yeah, next week we're going to do The Burbs. Maybe. I don't know.
See you later.
All right. Good night.